Okay, so we're continuing the last video, and we talked in that last video about present perfect progressive, and we talked about how it is different, similar to, and different from present perfect. So present perfect progressive and present perfect with a length of time mean exactly the same thing. And so here in this video we're going to talk about when should I use present perfect progressive? When should I use present perfect progressive with the length of time? So let's start off by noting something. So remember we said present perfect progressive and present perfect with a length of time mean the same thing. They both mean that the action started in the past and it continues until now. Okay? So if I say Ralph has worked as a bus driver I'm going to change that. Let's say Ralph has been working as a bus driver for 10 years. And I say Ralph has worked as a bus driver for 10 years. Okay. So let's call this sentence A and this sentence B. And this one, the only difference between these sentences is this sentence uses present perfect progressive and this sentence uses present perfect. And notice both sentences have a length of time. So, I'm going to ask you to pause and think for a moment. Ralph has been working. Well, let's review. Present perfect progressive and present perfect with a length of time both mean that it starts in the past, continues until now. Look at these two sentences. Ralph has been working as a bus driver for 10 years. Ralph has worked as a bus driver for 10 years. I have a question for you. Do these two sentences mean the same thing or different things? Pause the video if you want to take a moment to think. Okay. So, because we know present perfect progressive and present perfect with a length of time mean the same thing. They both mean it starts in the past and continues until now. These sentences mean the same thing. So these sentences have the same meaning. Same meaning. Now, they also show us something about present perfect and present perfect progressive. Let me see here. Sometimes I can use both. I'm going to write PPP for present perfect progressive. I can use both present perfect progressive and present perfect plus a length of time. PP is present perfect. So sometimes they mean the same thing, and sometimes I can use both of those. And so those times are great because it doesn't matter if I say which one I use. If I say Ralph has been working as a bus driver for 10 years, Ralph has worked as a bus driver for 10 years, they mean the same thing. I can say either one. Now, I'm afraid I have some bad news. And the bad news comes with this word, sometimes. Sometimes I can use either one. It doesn't matter, both are good. But sometimes in English, only one of them sounds correct. Either only present perfect progressive sounds correct, or only present perfect with a length of time sounds correct. So, the complete explanation is kind of complicated, but I'm going to give you a simple rule. And if you follow that simple rule, the rule does not explain everything, but if you follow the rule, you will always create a correct sentence in English. So, I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to write the rule. Okay. So remember, sometimes present perfect progressive and present perfect with a length of time mean the same thing. Sometimes I can use both, and either one is good. But sometimes only one sounds correct to an American or to an English speaker. So, I'm going to give you simple rule. So, when should I use present perfect progressive? When should I use present perfect with a length of time? So the simple rule is this. When I want to say this. When I want to say the action starts in the past and has continued until now. So when I want to say the action started in the past and has continued until now, let me see, can I get that? No. Okay. Then, actually, let me write that out. When I want to say this action started in the past, until now. In other words, when I want to show this meaning, starts in the past, continues until now, then, let's see, I'm looking for a different color to write these. Will it be one in green? Maybe one in this color. Okay, then, A. For most verbs, use present perfect progressive. So, most of the time, when I want to say the action starts in the past, continues to now, till now, for most verbs, use present perfect progressive. But, B, for stative verbs, use present perfect. Plus a length of time. Okay? And you might, if you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, what are stative verbs again? Let's just see here. So, stative verbs you will find on page 7. Okay? Those are verbs like need, want, love, like, hate. The verbs that we normally don't use with be and verb ing. So those verbs on page 7, the stative verbs, for those when you want to say started in the past, continues until now, for stative verbs, use present perfect plus a length of time. Now, if you don't have a copy of the Blue Azar book, or the Blue Azar book, if you Google the word stative verbs or non-action verbs, you can find a list of these kinds of verbs and get a better idea of what they are. All right, so for most verbs, when I'm trying to decide, I want to say an action starts in the past, continues until now. The simple rule is, if for most verbs, you use present perfect progressive, if for stative verbs, you use present perfect with a length of time, then you'll always create a correct sentence in English. Remember I did say sometimes I can use either one, and that's true, but this rule doesn't address that. But it doesn't talk about the times you can use both. But if you follow this rule, you will always create a correct sentence. So, let's do a few examples. I wish I had more space to write. I'm going to erase the top part, but let's keep the green part here so we can look back at it. Okay, so, let's see here. I blank love ice cream since I was a child. Which is true. I really like ice cream. So I want to say I started to love ice cream in the past when I was a child, and I still love it now. So I want to have this meaning. Now, if the verb is love, I need to ask. First of all, remember our rules is, if I want to show it starts in the past, continues until now, then for most verbs, use present perfect progressive. For stative verbs, use present perfect plus a length of time. So for most verbs, present perfect progressive. For stative verbs, present perfect and a length of time. Here, I want to say it starts in the past, continues to now. The verb is love. Question, is love a stative verb? If you're not sure, you can look on page 7. If you want a moment, pause your video. Okay, I'll tell you. Love is a stative verb. It's one of the verbs on page 7. Verbs that aren't used with be and verb ing. So here I say, part B. For stative verbs, the verbs on page 7, I'll use present perfect with a length of time. So here, I don't want to use, so here I'll use present perfect. And I will say, I have loved ice cream, and then I have, since I was a child, a length of time. Okay? Let's try another one. So for this one, because love is a stative verb, because love is a stative verb, I want to use present perfect and a length of time. Now, let's do this. Let's see here. John, let's see here. Blank. Let's see here. I'm thinking of okay, let's see here. Sorry. For 3 hours. John blank drive for 3 hours. Now, again, let's say, I want to say that John started to drive 3 hours ago, and he's continuing to drive now. So when I want to say starts in the past, continues until now, I'll either use present perfect plus a length of time or present perfect progressive. Oh, you can't see that very well, but starts in the past, continues till now. So I ask myself, drive. Is drive a stative verb? I can look on page 7 if I want to be sure. But if you take a moment and ask yourself, pause your video. Is drive a stative verb? Answer. Oh, okay. Answer. No, it's not a stative verb. So when I want to show it starts in the past, continues until now, for most verbs use present perfect progressive. For stative verbs, or non-action verbs, use present perfect in a length of time. So this drive, not stative, not stative. So I'm just, for most verbs, I'll use present perfect progressive. So I could say, John has been driving for 3 hours. Now, let's do a couple more. Let's see. Milton, oh no, let's say Martha. Martha let's say Martha clean the house. Oh, let's say Melvin. Let's make this non-sexist. Melvin blank cleaned the house since 2 o'clock, or since 9 o'clock this morning. He's been working all day. So, again, I think, okay, I want to say that he started in the past, 9 o'clock this morning, and it continues until now. So, if I want to say starts in the past, continues until now, should I use present perfect or present perfect progressive? So I say for most verbs, use present perfect progressive. For stative verbs, use present perfect plus a length of time. So here I say, okay, clean. Is clean a stative verb, or is it just a normal verb? Again, you can look on page 7 if you don't know. Pause if you want to take a moment and look. Answer, clean, not a stative verb, just a normal verb. So I say, okay, if it's not stative, for most verbs, use present perfect progressive. So here I could say, Melvin has been cleaning the house since 9 o'clock. Okay? All right. Let's do one more. Oh, I'm going to do 2 more. Okay? Let me do 2 more. Let me see. Since he had an accident. Oh. I'm going to change this. John blank need to walk with a crutch since he had the accident. And you might, crutch, this word crutch might be a new word for you. A crutch, let me draw a picture here. It's a kind of a stick that I walk with. So let me see here, let me draw a man. So I put my, let me just draw a picture of a man with a crutch. So here, this man let's see here. Maybe he has hurt his foot. Okay? And so he is walking. He has a stick under his arm, and the stick goes down to the ground to help him walk. So this is a crutch. I hope that picture is clear. Okay? But it's a stick that I use to walk with. So, John blank need to walk with a crutch since he had the accident. Now, again, I want to say, okay, the meaning that I want to show here is that he started to need to walk with a crutch in the past, and he still needs to walk with the crutch. So the question is, should I use present perfect or present perfect progressive? So I remember the rules. For most verbs, use present perfect progressive. For stative verbs, page 7, use present perfect with the length of time. So I look here and I say, okay, need. Is need a stative verb? Take a moment and think. If you need to check, look on page 7. Pause if you need. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Yes, need is a stative verb. So I say, oh, for stative verbs, use present perfect in a length of time. So here I'd say, John has needed to walk with a crutch, and then the length of time is, since he had the accident. I miswrote that. Since he had the accident. So present perfect and the length of time. Okay. Let's do one more, just for practice. Mary is good. Okay. Martha. Blank. Wash the car for for an hour. No, for half an hour. So let's say, So let's say that we want to say, Martha, I'm getting tired. I'm recording this at night after a long day. I'm a little tired. But Martha started washing the car in the past, half an hour ago, and it has continued until now. So I want to show this. And so when I want to show this meaning, I need to decide, should I use present perfect or present perfect progressive? Well, I remember so let's look at the rules again. For most verbs, use present perfect progressive. For stative verbs, page 7, use present perfect in a length of time. So, here we go. Wash. And here's the big question. Is wash a stative verb or is it just a normal verb? Stative verb or normal verb? Take a moment and think if you need. Look in the book if you need to. Pause if you need to. Pause the video. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you. Wash is just a regular verb. So with a regular verb, I'll use present perfect progressive. So here, if I want to show starts in the past, continues until now, I'd say, Martha has been washing the car for half an hour. Okay. So, let's briefly review what we've covered, and then we'll finish up this video. So, like we said at the beginning, there are some times that I can use both present perfect or present perfect with the present perfect progressive or present perfect with the length of time. If I want to show that it happened in the past, started in the past, continues until now, sometimes I can use either one, but sometimes only one sounds right to an American. And so the simple rule to do is this. If you follow this rule, you'll always create a correct sentence. For most verbs, use present perfect progressive. For stative verbs, the verbs on page 7, use present perfect with a length of time. And if you do that, you will always create a correct sentence. Okay. I wish with these videos we had more time to practice and to work on this and for you to talk over with other students. But unfortunately, we don't have that. That's what I like to do with my classes. In any case, I hope this helped, and I will see you sometime with a new video. Hopefully sometime soon. I'm a little busy these days because I'm working. Well, you don't need to know what I'm doing, but I'm a little busy these days. But I'll try to get another video up soon. Okay, good luck with your studies of English.